so much for joining us today.
Wonderful. It's great to be here.
That is a tough act to follow, but we will do our best. We are going to focus much more on business and tech. This is a conversation from the C-suite. First things first, we are in Washington. For anyone who doesn't spend all of their day focused on technology and the future of it, what is AMD?
Absolutely. So wonderful. It's great to be here, Anna. And I think one of the things that we find is, our job is to deliver truly, the highest performance computing technology. And you may not have ever heard of us, but think about us as billions of people use AMD technology every day, whether you're talking about in the cloud, if you're running a Zoom meeting, if you're posting something on X, if you're if you think about all of the the laptops that you have today, they may have AMD technology in it. We are also powering the two highest performance supercomputers in the world that happen to be in US national labs. So both at Lawrence Livermore National Labs as well as Oak Ridge National Labs, those supercomputers which are doing amazing science and technology are based on AMD. So we love to be sort of the technology underneath all of this great work.
In the background, but doing a lot, obviously. We've been talking with business leaders across sectors today about the impact the Trump administration is having when it comes to the business, the economy, and more. The Trump administration has been moving swiftly, to say the least, when it comes to executive orders. What are some of the opportunities and potential obstacles you see when it comes to Trump's EOs as it relates to the tech sector?
Well, look, the one thing that we have found is technology is now so much of the foundation of both the economy as well as national security. And so, we have been really in this mode of, public-private partnership. Really, I think the Trump administration is absolutely off to a very fast start. A lot of activity. That's the way us in tech think also. Things move very fast. And I think our goal is really to be quite agile in understanding how things come. Certainly, as all large enterprises, if there are changes in regulations like tariffs and things like that, we have to adjust our supply chain accordingly. And so we are absolutely being very agile in how we're thinking about, really this environment. But, what I look at is it's also an opportunity. I mean, the opportunity that's ahead of us is the U.S. is the technology leader today, especially in semiconductors. I mean, AMD has we've been 50 plus years. We've always been on the bleeding edge. And our goal in life is to continue to extend that lead of both our technology, but overall in the grand scheme of sort of U.S. technology leadership. So having that be very aligned with the administration's vision is also a very good thing. And that's what we're seeing, right? We have already had some pretty major announcements that have happened in technology. We had the Stargate announcement around AI, which is, again, extremely ambitious if you think about that level of investment in U.S. technology, and I think that will be a key way that we extend our lead. We also saw some significant foreign investment that has been announced in the United States around semiconductors and technology, and all that is excellent for us to continue to be, sort of the leader in the world in this area.
The president is set to meet with the BRT, which you will be at.
That's right. We're very excited. This afternoon, we're going to have a chance to hear from the president at the Business Roundtable.
What's the one or two things you're hoping to hear from him?
I think this is really a start of what we hope is quite a dialogue between sort of the private sector as well as the administration. Obviously the president has a very, very full agenda. I had a chance to spend some time with Secretary Lutnick today and also talk about some of those priorities. We want to have a seat at the table and help define that, and certainly as we think about congressional leaders as well, ensuring that the top priorities have input from business leaders so that it really is something that can be both in line with policy as well as executable in our global marketplace.
So you talked about kind of being agile, right? This is a changing and dynamic environment, but certainty is something that also businesses like, right? As you're planning, a couple years out, manufacturing, where plants are going to be. Tariffs are a major part right now that we're hearing kind of every day of Trump's foreign policy. How does this help or hurt, or how does AMD kind of navigate this new world order?
I think perhaps, if we look beyond sort of the near term and we look at, what are we trying to achieve long term, I believe, what the administration is trying to do is achieve more onshore manufacturing and more, economic prosperity in the United States. And hey, that's only a good thing for us as a U.S. company. Now, how you achieve that and in what time frame you achieve that, in our business, in semiconductor technology, like it takes many, many years to build the manufacturing facilities, to get the qualification of the technologies ready, to do all of the various steps. And I think we're very aligned to doing that. And in the short term, we have to be able to, also, run a global business in that framework. So probably one of the most important aspects of the conversation today is how do we bring more chip manufacturing back to the United States? And so I know that that's a very, very active dialogue that is happening, in our industry and together, with the administration and congressional leaders.
So yeah, let's talk about that, because obviously the semiconductor industry in particular has been one that Trump recently called out pretty aggressively, I think surprised people in his address to Congress, talking about the idea of wanting to roll back Biden-era investments in the CHIPS Act, a bipartisan, where you had a lot of Republicans and Democrats come together on that. Taken at face value, let's not, whether it's going to happen or not, but just taken on face value, what impact would that have on AMD?
So when I look at the CHIPS and Science Act and sort of what was put in place in the last administration, I think the fundamental goal was to give companies incentive to rebuild the entire sector in the United States. And I think U.S. manufacturing and rebuilding that manufacturing capability is super important for us. We view it as a strategic imperative for us to have diversity of supply, resilience of supply, and having a good footprint in the U.S. So we'd like to see that happen. Now, how exactly that happens, I think the CHIPS and Science Act was actually a good step forward in terms of getting more investment in the U.S. There may be other ways to do that. The more important thing from our standpoint is to make sure that whatever we do has lasting staying power. And at the end of the day, these strategies have to really be set aside, really for like the next 5 to 10 years versus what happens over the next, 3 to 6 months. And I think that's the key, is how do we do that? And it's not just about manufacturing, it's also about the entire development research stream. I think the research that we do in universities in the United States is super important to ensure that we have the right talent to execute, the most advanced technologies in the world.
So on that, if you had one message, the kind of headline, if you're a journalist, how we think about things, when it comes, and probably you're going deeper as a scientist, but when it comes to Washington, what is your message when it comes to the need for U.S. support of the semiconductor industry?
I think the most important message that I have is there's playing offense and then there's playing defense. So playing offense means we need to invest in ensuring that we stay the leader in semiconductor and high-tech industries. And what do I mean by that? Like, as a company, we spend over $6.5 billion in R&D a year, which is over 20% of our revenues. These are long-term, high-impact projects, and we're going to continue to do that. And the fact is, the U.S. is the leader in semiconductors today, and we should absolutely keep that leadership. Now, on top of that, we want to bring back more, onshore manufacturing, so we have more resiliency. We're all in for doing that. And then there's also, on the defense side, ensuring that as we think about, the world markets, we want as much of the world to continue to be reliant on U.S. semiconductor technology as well. And our public policy really shapes that quite a bit.
So there's, shifting gears a little bit, there's a lot of focus right now, certainly in Washington, on artificial intelligence. From your vantage point leading AMD, how big of an impact does AI have?
Yeah, so I would say that AI is the most important technology inflection that we've seen over the last 50 years. I mean, it is that impactful. And we're at the very beginnings of the usage of AI technology. So think about it as, we're on a 10-year technology arc. And what I like to believe is that investment in AI, leading in AI, is really an opportunity to expand the economy, It's an opportunity to make our businesses much more productive, but it's also an opportunity for us to use the technology to solve some of the most important problems in the world. Like, it should improve healthcare, it should improve how we do research, it should improve how we run enterprises. And for all of those reasons, it's really important for us to lead. I know that there's also the flip side of it, which is how much regulation should go into AI as well. I think it's a very, very active debate. People have different opinions of it. I don't think there's any right or wrong answer, but the key is, what I like to say is, without getting into all of the weeds of technology, the most important thing is to have a very, very active dialogue, and this is where a public-private partnership is so important as we go forward.
Yeah, I mean, that was my next question, right? There's this oftentimes tension between certainly Washington seeing as a stifling factor, Silicon Valley, tech wanting to kind of move fast, be early adopters. I was just talking to a bunch of tech CEOs over the last week, and they were saying, Washington should just stay out. And I was laughing, saying like, yeah, well, that's probably not going to happen, guys. Good idea, though.
I think we are way beyond that. we're way beyond the, hey, we're going to sit in our little bubble and develop our stuff. At the end of the day, I think there's a clear recognition that tech is now so important that it's a first-order consideration in national, sort of in national policy. I mean, you see that not just in the U.S., but all over the world. Countries are developing, sort of a sovereign strategy for their technology. And so it's only natural that, there's lots of questions about technology. I mean, there's some of our technology that is, certainly, so powerful that it is export controlled, and we understand that. And, we are absolutely a U.S. company first and foremost. On the other hand, we like the fact that our technology is valuable, and we'd like to grow our business. And so I think we're totally understanding of the fact that the more that we as technology leaders can actually really educate on our market, I think that that definitely helps ensure that there's a good understanding. And frankly, we also need to be educated about some of the issues that are out there. The other thing I would say is it is such an active dialogue around the world as well. It's not just a U.S. policy, but it's also, if you think about just all of the world economies that are dependent on technology, that it's a very active global conversation.
I mean, I think the big question is, like, what do you do about China, right? And that relationship with the U.S. is a hot topic right now.
It is, definitely one of the clear topics that need to be addressed. From the standpoint, China is a global market. They're a big consumer of technology. Right. There's also a lot of concern that we make sure that our most advanced technology doesn't fall into the wrong hands. And so, this is all about just having the right balance, and it's a very nuanced conversation that we have to go through.
All right, we're almost out of time, but before I let you go, project forward. You're in the tech world, you're seeing, light years beyond what oftentimes we are doing in Washington. Where do you see AMD in 5 to 7 years?
Well, I think what we would all like to see, and now I'll make it even broader than AMD, but really for the tech industry, is technology can absolutely change our lives. And we want to get the technology so easy to use. That's what's so different about AI today, is that you're using AI every day, and you don't even know it. And you're going to see it in every aspect of your lives, whether you're talking about your personal life, your business life, how we communicate. And what we want to do is just make it as accessible as possible. So, our goal is to have, computing kind of make our lives better, and with that, continue to expand, U.S. leadership in the global economy.
Amazing. All right, Lisa, thank you so much. We really appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right.